A survey finds Hong Kong employees set to receive an average pay rise of 4.1% next year. The public reminded of the potential risks of cosmetic tattoos. And attempts to get a Gaza border crossing reopened. Hello and welcome to TVB News. Hopes of at least a brief ceasefire in southern Gaza after more than a week of war between Israel and Hamas fighters are hanging in the air. Reuters, citing security sources in Cairo, reported that Egypt, Israel, and the United States had agreed to a ceasefire of several hours to allow the temporary reopening of the Rafah border crossing. However, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu later denied any agreement had been made. Humanitarian groups are hoping to send aid from Egypt via the crossing to hundreds of thousands of Gaza Strip residents who are running low on food, water, fuel, and medical supplies. Nazvi Karim has more.
Hundreds of tons of humanitarian aid waiting to get in. Hundreds of people waiting to get out. This is the Rafah border between Hamas-ruled Gaza and Egypt, the only exit from the heavily blockaded Gaza Strip to the outside world. Citing security sources in Cairo, Reuters report that Israel had agreed to halt its bombardment of southern Gaza, and the Rafah border crossing would be open for several hours to allow foreign passport holders to leave and aid to be brought in. Egyptian authorities have also been waiting to send aid from several countries to the hundreds of thousands of Palestinians staying in Gaza, at least 600,000 of whom have fled from the northern areas on orders of the Israeli military. Last week, Israel imposed a complete siege of the Gaza Strip, launching relentless bombing raids in retaliation for a surprise Hamas attack on October 7th that left at least 1,300 Israelis dead, with more than 150 taken hostage. Israel said it has resumed water supplies to a specific part of southern Gaza. Gaza hospitals have around 1 day of fuel remaining. The Shifa hospital in the north is packed with patients, most of whom are unable to evacuate south. In the Nasser hospital in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza, several newborns are being kept in incubators. The UN's relief agency for Palestine said if power is lost, it would be the death of them. Israeli airstrikes, meanwhile, continued across the enclave, hitting 2 hospitals in the north. No timetable has been set for the expected ground assault, which will likely target Gaza City, Hamas's de facto headquarters. Israel says it is determined to wipe out Hamas infrastructure and cripple its ability to govern the region. Meanwhile, at Israel's northern border with Lebanon, Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah continue to exchange fire.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has returned to Israel after a 6-country tour. He is trying to build a regional consensus, help civilians, and stop an escalation of violence in the Middle East. David Garrett reports.
Antony Blinken in Egypt for what could be the most important leg of his tour of the Middle East. The US Secretary of State had been to Jordan, the West Bank city of Ramallah for a meeting with the Palestinian Authority leader, Qatar, Bahrain, UAE and Saudi Arabia. He began in Israel. America scrambled their top diplomat to the region in the wake of the Hamas attack on Israel and the Jewish state's retaliatory actions in Gaza. In Cairo, Blinken met with President al-Sisi, where he was told of Egypt's concerns that Israel's reaction could go beyond the right of self-defense and turn into collective punishment for 2.3 million people in Gaza. Blinken told the Egyptian leader of the humanitarian need to get the border open.
With regard to Rafah, I had a very good conversation with President al-Sisi. We have put in place, and Egypt has put in place, a lot of material support for people in Gaza, and Rafah will be open. We're putting in place with the United Nations, with Egypt, with Israel, with others, the mechanism by which to get the assistance in and to get it to the people who need it.
During his whistle-stop tour, Blinken heard from Arab leaders again and again that civilians must be given every chance to avoid being caught up in Israel's offensive. The US stands with Israel, but Blinken's listened to regional powers.
The way that Israel does this matters. Needs to do it in a way that affirms the shared values that we have for human life and human dignity, taking every possible precaution to avoid harming civilians.
China is doing its diplomatic bit too. Special envoy to the Middle East, Zhai Jun, will travel there in the coming days. Foreign Minister Wang Yi has held crucial phone conversations with his counterparts in Iran and Turkey. Wang says using violence to stop violence will exacerbate the situation. He's called for a UN-led international peace conference. Turkey's top diplomat said Ankara is urging restraint. Both want to minimise casualties and displacements. Iran, who supports Hamas, said it would not be a spectator amid US involvement. Convoys of trucks and buses are massing at Israel's border into Jordan. King Abdullah II is on a trip to Europe to gather support to stop the war. His first port of call was Downing Street in London, where he met with UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. David Garrett, TVB News.
In the United States, an Illinois man was charged with hate crimes after stabbing to death a 6-year-old Muslim boy and seriously wounding his 32-year-old mother. Wadea al-Fayoumi was stabbed 26 times with a 7-inch blade. It was said to be a response to the war between Israel and Hamas. The woman survived the attack. The community has placed toys as a memorial for the boy at his house. 71-year-old Joseph Zuba has been charged with murder, attempted murder, 2 counts of hate crime, and aggravated battery. In Afghanistan, another 6.3 magnitude earthquake has struck the country's western part. That's where thousands of people died during devastating quakes a week earlier. Aid agency Save the Children said 4 people died in Sunday's tremor in Herat province, with the regional hospital receiving more than 150 injured. The initial quakes on October 7th were among the most destructive in Afghanistan's recent history. Meanwhile, the first batch of quake relief supplies from China arrived at Herat International Airport on Sunday. Relief materials, including tents and rollaway beds, were unloaded from 2 cargo planes at the airport. About 500,000 yuan worth of relief materials provided by the Red Cross Society of China were also delivered. Hong Kong and 9 other cities in the Greater Bay Area are set to offer salary increases next year, according to a survey by a local management institute. The pay rise is set to increase at an average of 4.1% and 5.4%, respectively. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Pay rise ranks among the top annual concerns for the city's employees. This technician said he is optimistic for a salary increase because there is a manpower shortage in this company. While this woman said her salary was frozen this year and hopes for a pay rise soon so she could better afford groceries. The Hong Kong Institute of Human Resource Management conducted a survey in the first 9 months of this year, involving more than 200 local companies covering 12 industries and more than 130,000 full-time employees. The study found the average pay rise for local employees this year averaged 3.8%, with the figure dropping to 2% after tax deductions. This, as Institute President Lawrence Hung said, local companies and the government have made a huge effort in trying to keep talent in the city, in addition to offering salary increases and year-end bonuses. He added the pay rise figure remains lower than the original target, despite earlier predictions of a post-pandemic market recovery. This, as 139 local companies provided salary adjustment predictions for 2024. Around 60% noted they will offer a pay rise, 4% said they will freeze salaries, while 35% said they have yet to decide. The Institute predicts the salary increases in local enterprises next year will average 4.1%. That's 0.3 percentage points higher than this year. The Institute further surveyed over 380 companies in 9 other cities in the Greater Bay Area, including Shenzhen, Guangzhou, and Dongguan, involving more than 150,000 employees. The study found the companies are offering an average salary increase of 5.5%. Around 4% said there will be a salary freeze next year, while 28% will offer a pay rise. Close to 70% noted they were uncertain. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The Consumer Council has reminded the public of the potential risks of cosmetic tattoos. The beauty industry welcomed more government regulation over the procedures after discussions with the sector. Latest warnings, too, on heavy metal content in chocolate and the lower nutrient levels of vegan milk. Jackie Lynn reports.
Cosmetic tattoos, also known as permanent makeup, is making a mark in the beauty industry, getting more popular especially among busy Hong Kongers looking to save time from their daily makeup routine. The Consumer Council said the tattooing process involves piercing the skin surface and injecting ink into the dermis layer, priced at a few $1,000s per session. Starting 2020, complaint figures related to cosmetic tattooing have recorded increases every year. Most cases involved oozing of pus and blood from wounds. Eyebrows raised too over botched jobs, such as asymmetrical brows and a loss of coloring. Some complainants also suffer from permanent hair loss on microbladed scalps. Even riskier are eyeliner tattoos, which could lead to scratched cornea and even impacts on their eyesight. And if the tattooing equipment is not properly sterilized,
tattoo recipient may come into contact with other people's blood during tattooing and get infected with blood-borne diseases, such as hepatitis B or hepatitis C or HIV, so the consequences can be extremely severe.
Veteran beautician Victoria Kwan said most cosmetic tattoo specialists received relevant certificates locally or overseas, including South Korea. As there's no legislation yet in Hong Kong regulating the qualifications or licensing of parlors, she hopes the government could introduce relevant accreditation to facilitate quality control. The washout also tested 29 chocolate brands. All samples were found to contain traces of cadmium, a heavy metal. One sample, said to be from Italy, exceeded permitted European Union levels of cadmium by 17%.
If you're talking about the impact of cadmium, it is widely used in different industries. But if you have long-term intake of cadmium, it could hurt your kidney.
The washout also tested the nutrient content of 39 prepackaged plant-based milk products. Soy milk is found to be the only milk alternative that comes close to low-fat milk in terms of protein levels. To get a protein content equivalent to 1 cup of low-fat milk, it takes 5 cups of almond or oat milk or a whopping 34 cups of coconut milk. The calcium levels of all plant-based milk are notably lower than normal milk. The washout reminds consumers to ensure a balanced intake of nutrients, especially those who cannot consume regular milk. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
2 suspected alligator gars were sighted in the Kai Tak River. The pair were spotted in the river near Muk Tai Street. Alligator gar is an invasive fish species native to North America. Experts say the fish won't attack humans, but residents should not try to capture them as they come with sharp teeth and could struggle off nets. The alligator gars spotted are believed to be pets released by their former owner. Still ahead, election results in Poland could pave the way for power for the opposition. Russia bans seafood imports from Japan following the release of wastewater from the Fukushima plant. And more details about the revitalization of the Temple Street night market. Welcome back. Poland's ruling nationalists appeared on Monday to have lost their parliamentary majority in the nation's most pivotal election in decades. If confirmed, this could potentially open the way for opposition parties to seize power in what would be a huge political shift. Daniel Rao tells us more.
Exit polls showed Poland's incumbent Launch Justice Party, or PiS, won the most votes for a single party in Sunday's general election, but the liberal opposition bloc of parties appeared to secure a parliamentary majority. This has raised the possibility of an end to 8 years of nationalist rule. The Ipsos exit poll gave PiS 36.8% of the vote, which would translate into 200 lawmakers in the 460-seat parliament. Opposition parties led by former European Council President Donald Tusk's Liberal Civic Coalition, or KO, were projected to together win 248 seats, with the KO seen winning 31.6% of ballots cast. KO leader Tusk has vowed to mend Warsaw's relations with Brussels, undo PiS reforms and hold its leaders to account. If official results confirm the exit poll, Tusk and his allies from the centre-right Third Way and the New Left may have to wait for weeks or even months before getting a turn at forming government. President Andrzej Duda, a PiS ally, has said he would give the first shot at doing so to the winning party. This suggests Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki or another party leader would have first priority. But with the far-right Confederation scoring 6.2% below expectations, analysts say he will have few obvious allies. If the outcome is confirmed by official results, the vote would mark a massive turnaround for Warsaw, which has feuded with the European Union over the rule of law, media freedom, migration and LGBT rights since PiS came to power in 2015. Furthermore, with war raging in neighbouring Ukraine and a migrant crisis brewing, the European Union and US have been watching the vote closely. Still, both PiS and its mainstream opposition support NATO member Poland's key role in providing military and logistical support to Kyiv. Daniel, TVB News.
Russia says it will join China in restricting imports of seafood from Japan over the release of wastewater from the destroyed Fukushima nuclear power plant. This comes as a team from the UN's nuclear agency, IAEA, arrives in Japan to take marine samples for testing for the first time since Tokyo started releasing treated radioactive water in August. Russia said it imposed the restrictions as a precautionary measure. The ban will remain in place until it is proved that seafood from the area is safe to eat. China criticized Japan for its decision to release the wastewater from the Fukushima plant, saying Japan's tests on the water did not cover all potentially harmful radioactive materials. Temple Street is set to host a night market next month as part of the city's Night Vibes campaign to revitalize the once bustling area. Besides food stalls offering a variety of cuisines, residents will also be treated to booths featuring fortune-telling services. But unlike other seaside bazaars, the Temple Street night market may have to be taken down and rebuilt every night and morning, owing to reasons of traffic obstruction. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Stretching for almost 100 meters, the glory days of Temple Street can make a comeback next month. In addition to the 3 current seaside night markets in the SAR, the government's Night Vibes campaign to boost the city's nighttime economy sought the street as its latest target. Over 30 food stalls will be set up along the area, along with a multitude of retail and fortune-telling booths. The total number of booths will reach more than 100. This woman said it is good to keep some of the culture of Temple Street alive, but it has to update its image to attract the youth. This tourist from Malaysia noted it would be nice to see Hong Kong delicacies such as stinky tofu and egg waffles in the night market. He added the street could emulate night markets in Taiwan. Some local commercial bodies said they wish to see Temple Street become a future tourist landmark in Hong Kong. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Chief Executive John Lee is leading a 70-strong delegation to Beijing to participate in the 3rd Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation. Jackie Lin reports.
Joining the trip are 11 senior government officials, including Financial Secretary Paul Chan, Secretary for Justice Paul Lam, multiple Executive Council members including Eliza Chan and Margaret Leung, as well as representatives of business enterprises and public organizations including Kenneth Falk and Sunny Chai. Chief Executive John Lee said compared with before, the delegation this time will have the most opportunities to weigh in and participate in the high-level forum. Meeting the press before setting off, the city leader said Hong Kong is an active participant, contributor and beneficiary of the Belt and Road Initiative. So he and the delegation will introduce the unique advantages and opportunities presented by Hong Kong, connecting both with the motherland and the world under the one country, two systems principle. John Lee is set to be the speaker at 3 events over these 2 days in the 3rd Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation in Beijing. And as the nomination period for the 2023 District Council ordinary election is set to kick off on Tuesday, the CE called on those hoping to serve the community to join the race. That's especially when it will mark the first district-level polls held after the electoral overhaul and bears much significance to the city, he said. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
With the district council election kicking off its nomination period tomorrow, Secretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs Eric Chang said the government will help promote the polls. The plan includes more publicity for the elections at Night Vibes Hong Kong campaign venues. At a Legislative Council panel meeting, Chung said the raft of promotional drives include community activities and TV advertisements. There will also be stalls set up at the night markets to help citizens understand the benefits of the revamped district councils. When asked if it will be harder for Democratic Party hopefuls to secure nominations, the Constitutional Affairs chief said it's too early to say which candidate or party would or would not pass the vetting stage. A man was sentenced to 10 months in prison after he was convicted of 2 counts of incitement for urging people to attack TVB employees. 29-year-old Fan Shi Man was charged with incitement after urging people to attack staff members of TVB's News and Information Division in November 2019. He was also charged with another count of incitement in May 2020 that led to a staff member sustaining serious injuries. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Pearl Magazine is up shortly. See you then.